All right, so tonight we're investigating the 1847 Bistro located in Brooklyn, Ontario. This is in the Heritage District of Brooklyn. This place, originally before it was rebuilt, was an old hardware store and a bank, the original. And we've gone out and researched the people that owned it before and a few of the other owners. And it remained a hardware store and a bank until 1972 when it got rebuilt across the street. So, the people there, almost all the staff have had experiences. Some, the standard fare of being touched, seeing things. But beyond that, the alarm has gone off in the middle of the night, and the motion detector in the basement showing people walking around in the basement. Having pre-seen this place, that's not what you'd expect. It's a very small basement. There's actually a vault down there. And there was a patron of the restaurant now that came up and stated that there's somebody trying to get out of the safe down there. The padlock was whapping up and down. Sounds kind of interesting. So a lot seems to come from that side of the building where the bank was. Beyond that, the staff had shut up, closed the place for the night, and came back to check on something, and there was a candle lit in the middle. Extinguished the candle, came back a little bit later, and the candle again. So there's obviously a few tests that we're going to have to show tonight. It's not a very big location, but it's ornate, it's old, so it should be quite interesting. It's going to be me and Sydney and Shannon and Chris. Got a guest with us tonight, along with probably a cast of the employees there that we're going to have to huddle down into a room as to not affect the rest of the investigation. So should be an interesting one. It's nice, it's close to home. It's one of the first ones we've had in a while that it's a 10-minute drive to. Kind of enjoying that. So we'll see what Chaps comes up with tonight. Here?
I do.
And how long have you been here?
About a year and a half.
A year and a half. Oops.
Not so stuck.
Great. Okay, so you've been here about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Okay, and in that year and a half you've had some experiences.
I have.
So why don't you detail some of those for us?
Okay. The first one I ever had, I was here on a Monday. We're closed on Monday, so I was here alone doing inventory. And I walked downstairs. I think I was putting away some empties or something, or counting something, whatever. And I went into our little junk room, and the printer turned on and started printing blank pages, which was really weird. So that was my first experience. The craziest one that I had was when I was locking up one night a few months ago, and yeah, the alarm wouldn't set. It kept saying door ajar, and then bar whatever. And so I'm going around, I'm checking all the doors, whatever, nothing was open or anything. So I was like, whatever, I'm just not setting the alarm. So I go outside, I go to lock the door, and then I was like, I'll do one last check. So I walked in, and one single candle was lit in the middle of the restaurant. And I was like...
On this side?
On this side, on the bar side.
Okay.
Yeah, directly behind where you guys were sitting.
Okay.
That candle was lit. And I was like, well, I'm blowing out this candle and getting the hell out of here.
Of course.
So, yeah, so I left. And, yeah, whenever I'm here alone, I just hear footsteps downstairs all the time. I can hear whistling, all that, yeah. So it's weird. I don't like being here by myself.
Well, it could be a really friendly spirit. And I know that it just a couple weeks ago, I guess a fight was here, and there was a glass thrown off the table, and that was... We'll have to do something with that tonight.
Yeah.
So you don't want there to be anything here?
I don't know. As long as I'm confirmed he's friendly, I don't really care. It's just weird.
Okay.
Because I don't believe in ghosts.
Right,
I never
right.
have until I started working here, and just too much weird stuff has happened.
It's changed your mind.
Yes. Like the sunglass incident, I was here, we were in the middle of service, and there were sunglasses on just a ledge, and they flew off, and they opened up, and they were literally mid-air, like someone was wearing them, and then they just fell down.
Oh, that's pretty.
Middle of service.
And where did that happen?
That was just behind the bar.
Okay, so most of it does happen on the bank side.
Yes.
Let's see. Nothing on the hardware side.
Not often. Sometimes things will happen in the kitchen, Like I'll be doing my end of day counts or whatever, and I'll hear like pans shifting around or whatever, but it's mostly on the bar side.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to do our best tonight and see if we can collect some evidence and prove to you that it's a friendly ghost.
That would be nice.
if you find anything.
Yeah.
Very good.
So this is the door I was coming in. And there, it hasn't moved all fucking day now. Sorry for the curse words. It has not moved all day now, but when I came in this morning, and the wind was just about as it is right now. There was no heavy winds, no nothing. And I made it to about here, and I had this door closed about that much of a crack, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I see... And then this went... This door stayed closed, and that one flung open even more violently than that. It was very violent. Like, to me, it was like nothing I had ever seen before.
Like, you
And I
remember
know-
when we had that really violent windstorm?
Right, yeah,
A whole bunch of stuff on the patio went flying. That thing did not move.
And I know
Did not move from that spot.
for a fact that, like, this has not moved all
Oh,
day
jeez.
either.
That wouldn't get moved. The thing
Do you know
weighs
what I mean?
25 pounds.
And it
Yeah.
was not... Okay, the wind that we're feeling right now is more than the wind that was present
At that time.
at that
You're
time.
the owner of this establishment,
I am.
and your staff have all had some activity happening. I've spoken to a few of them tonight. Some of them animated about it for sure. So, you know, we're going to do our best to see what kind of
See
readings
what's
surrounds the
going
place. Hopefully, we get some evidence to further consolidate what it is that you're experiencing.
Yeah.
May get nothing, may get something. So, why don't you tell me about some of the experiences you've had?
Well, I mean, I'm personally a skeptic, for sure. But, you know, we've had guests that have come into the restaurant that have come up to us and said, well, I had the one experience that I told you about earlier where they said that the lock on the vault downstairs was banging as if someone was pushing from the inside. And obviously there was no one in there. We had another guest one evening that told us that they thought someone was tugging on their pants. So this is not initiated by us. We're actually having people come up to us and say that they're having certain experiences. I've had kitchen staff say that ramekins have, you know, flown off the shelf. We had guests one night where they said a beer glass flew and no one was near the table. And we had staff one night that had a pair of sunglasses that sort of took off. And the alarm does go off when no one's here. And I check the cameras, I see nothing. There's nothing wrong with the system, so I really can't figure it out. But we just felt that there was enough things that had gone on through our guests and through our staff that yeah, we'd be curious to see if you come up with anything, because we're fascinated by it.
I'm hoping we do. I'm hoping we come up with something for you, and should be a pretty clean investigation. It's not too much space to cover.
Yeah.
We'll probably start at the top and work our way down, and
We'll see what happens.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting a spike here at the vault. So, of course, we're gonna get a spike. The most important thing in this place, the beer cooler. Yes. Essential. So we got a spike, we're spiking. So let's see how far this spike goes. What is that? So I start to so I gotta be like right up to it to get anything.
This was once a hardware store and a bank. This side was the bank. And we'd like to find out why people down here experience doors rattling and movement happening. The alarm goes off and it shows there's people walking around here. Can you make a physical noise for us? I'd like to see an opportunity to feel you. You know, if you want to shove me over, come at me. You seem like you've got enough physical force to move something. Well, come move me. All right.
Alright, so a little while ago we heard a little cling clang. Was that you making the cling clang? It's gonna sound kind of like this. Can you make that sound again? So if you can make a noise for us, that'd be grand. Would certainly make our night a little more interesting.
Make some noise, move something around. Pretty friendly people in here. I'm sure you can pull someone's hair or tug at their shirt. So one thing I'm going to ask is, in the vault next to us, a lady walked upstairs and she had said that the padlock on the door was slamming as if somebody was trying to get out. Can you recreate that? Can you make that padlock knock so we can hear it? You know, inside that vault, there is a device that creates energy. Energy that you can use. If you're in here with us, can you go in there and knock on that door? Inside that vault. That's right, hello? Somebody inside that vault. Who wants to go inside the vault?
I'll go inside the vault.
Alright. I won't.
Is it scary in there?
Hopefully. What? Why is that going off?
What?
Geophone.
The geophone. All right. So he's locked in there now. Let's move that lock. So you got Chris in there now. Do you want to move that lock? Can you make contact with Chris in there? Make the door move. Make Chris feel something in there. There's a device in there that tracks your movement. Can you touch Chris? Chris, you should pound on the door and see what happens. Pound harder. Harder. Okay, so if anybody was actually hearing that, the lock doesn't move, and that would be very obvious somebody was knocking there. So I don't know how that lock could be affected. So we're now in the actual kitchen.
Which would have at one point been part of a hardware store.
Yes, this would have been part of the hardware store. My son was 4 years old, and my son was a week before birth. Pretty traumatic event in my life. I was only 29 years old. I think you were a little older than me when this went through for you. I visited the grave. I visited your son's grave. I know you're buried in the same area, but there's no gravestone for you that I could find. Or your wife, Myrtle. There's only your son. Your son, Howard. 4 years old. Can you tell me, tell my machine, what it was that took him? Somebody else that's present in the building that's doing all these things, you've physically got enough strength to be able to move things. You can move something for us. I'm going to light another candle. So, you can do a couple things for us. You can knock a glass off. I mean, you threw a glass off the chair, the table over there. You can put out that candle. Well, let's get something physical happening.
How about a wine bottle? Don't break it.
Downstairs, our laser grid, our little laser beam is turning off and on. That could be something, pretty logical explanation of that. A lot of the noises that we had heard earlier on, we realized were the solenoids on the freezer. So that explained that. We did try to recreate the safe knocking. What we need right now, I mean, if you're not going to make a physical noise, we need you to speak to our devices so we can hear you later.